This meeting is for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Debbie D will be sharing on Where It All Begins, the AA Home Group, for 60 minutes, followed by a 20-minute Q&A. Debbie has spoken for us in July of 2021, May of 22, and we are delighted to have her back with us for the third time today. Debbie, thank you for your service and your willingness to share your life with us. We love and appreciate you. Please all help me give a warm welcome to Debbie from Concord, California. Her home group is the Primary Purpose Group in Dublin, California. Welcome, Debbie. Over to you.
Thank you so much. My gosh, I loved your format. Every messaging. I love listening to different formats because it makes me pay attention, and in the sense of what different messages you share, and I just love that. So thank you for the beautiful introduction. It is so delightful to see so many people I know from around the world on this meeting. I dare not even begin to mention names. I know I'd miss someone, but thank you. Thank you for making this beautiful connection tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever. And I'm an alcoholic. And as mentioned, I come to you from Concord, California. And my sobriety date is February 8, 1976. Which means I've been with you for over 46 years. Sometimes it just feels like I'm kind of lying when I say that, because it just doesn't feel like, how could I possibly be 46 years sober when I'm 39 years old? You know, I mean, I don't know how that plays, but that's just kind of how that falls out. That's the new math these days, just keeping that in mind. And that's the experience on home group I'm going to bring to you. The home group is really a vital component of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's where we typically take people, new people who've never been here. It's an environment where people might call our local office. It might be called central office, service center, intergroup, but it does the same purpose. And they'll find out I need help, and maybe they'll say, no, don't say anybody out, but just tell me where those classes are. You know, a lot of times they're called classes to the uninitiated. So cute. And this is what they're coming into. So it is vital that we remember the function and purpose of the home group, and that we never forget. This isn't about free therapy check-in. This is about carrying the message to the alcoholic who is still suffering, and that may be me. No, I haven't had a drink in a long, long time, but knowing I'm coming into a safe place where I'm going to hear about recovery and not nonsense is really reassuring to me. I have been to meetings. I've had the pleasure to be in a meeting all over the world. They have different formats, but you feel the language of the heart still is spoken. And that's really, what we want. That's the message we want to carry, is the language of the heart. So, AA Home Group, where it all begins. My experience is I've had 4 different home groups. They weren't just meetings. They really were home groups. Call that gathering up of people a meeting. I'll see you at the meeting tonight, or you're going to the meeting. But there is a difference between a meeting and a group. So the question becomes, what do you go to? Do you simply attend a meeting? Or are you a member of a group? So sometimes you say, well, what's the difference? Meetings are typically based on convenience, and groups, one of the many things, are involved in more than just the meeting portion. In 1955, our co-founder, Bill W., gave the responsibility and authority of the future leadership to the groups of Alcoholics Anonymous. They passed the torch. So the question becomes, Has your group taken up that torch? Has your group taken on that leadership responsibility? Is your group a 1 or 2 or 3 legacy group? So what does that mean? That's kind of an odd thing when I say that. Well, one of the things is if there's, we have 3 what they call window shades or scrolls. How many of the 3 are on your wall? Typically it's 2. Happily to say, more and more groups are also putting up the concepts window shade. That's something I look for in every meeting or group I visit. My groups had it up probably about 10 years when they first came out. That tells me the mentality and the service level of the gathering I'm at. Now, it doesn't mean that a meeting can't also be active in service. They just have a reason they don't put up the concepts. In fact, I remember going to, pre-COVID 4 years ago or whatever, and I kind of lovingly mentioned, we have 3 legacies. We've got they had the steps up and they had the traditions. I said, and maybe next time when I come back, you'll have the concepts up. And I just kind of lightly mentioned that. And the guys came up to me and said after the meeting, we actually have the concepts. I said, really? Why don't you have them up? He said, well, we didn't want to scare off the newcomer with all those words. I said, all those words aren't going to scare the newcomer off. By the time they get to reading step 3 and they see the word God, if they get past that, I wouldn't worry about it. That's going to scare them off more than the concepts window shade. So, it's like sometimes we get so silly. So is your group 1 or 2, 3 legacies? Do you ever talk about the traditions? Do you feel that those are a part of your group's experience? So what is a group? It kind of seems like they're all the same thing. And again, you can figure that for yourself. But what the pamphlet, so there's the AA group pamphlet that you can easily get. This is from the AAW, our General Service Office in New York at aa.org. You can easily get this pamphlet. You can download a copy for free, 1 copy, and print it out for yourself. It's super, super educational and helpful if you're not sure what is a home group and its purpose. But it says, is there a difference between a meeting and a group? And the answer is, most AA members meet in AA groups as defined by the long form of our 3rd tradition, where 2 or 3 alcoholics are gathered together for sobriety. They may call themselves a group, provided they're not, affiliated or require anything else. However, some AA members hold AA meetings that differ from the common understanding of a group. These members simply gather at a set time and place for a meeting, perhaps for convenience or other special situations. The main difference between meetings and groups is that AA groups generally continue to exist outside the prescribed meeting hours, ready to provide 12-step help when needed. So, again, I've been to many places where you arrive 20 minutes beforehand. There isn't a car in the parking lot. The door's not open. You're like, do I have the right time and place? I mean, this is Tuesday, right? And 5 minutes beforehand, whoosh, in comes everybody, yak, 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 sit down. And 5 minutes afterwards, whoosh, you can shoot a cannon through it, as they say. That's a meeting. That's a meeting. I needed to belong to a group. I needed to know how to live among other people out there by learning how to live among people in here. The traditions in their fine application showed me how to do that. But what are some other characteristics of the difference that I've seen of a group and a meeting? Well, let me ask you, do you have a general service representative? Because that person links you to AA Worldwide Fellowship. Do you have an intergroup representative, which links your group to your local community? Are you involved in carrying the message elsewise? Maybe your group's involved with what we call here in California, hospitals and institutions. Does your group maybe have a commitment to carry the message into an institution? Other areas it's called corrections, that type of thing. And so, are you doing anything beyond that? I can also tell you that I can almost sniff out the difference between a meeting and a group when I walk in. Are there greeters? I've never seen a meeting have a greeter yet. Groups do. I've never seen just a regular meeting have a greeter. That is one of the best jobs in AA. I loved being a greeter because I didn't have to talk to anybody very long besides, hi, my name's Debbie, welcome, what's your name? Period, end of conversation. They move on. I didn't have to create small talk, chit chat, look interested, nothing. It's a fabulous job to have. But it's also one of the most important jobs because I, as a greeter, help set the emotional, welcoming tone to that new person who's never been there. They might be new to AA or a visitor from another area, or they might be checking out a new group. I'd like them to consider ours. And I can do that by that very welcoming greeting. Look at the difference in your home group, if you're a greeter or does it have greeters. When you work the room, well, we'll get to that in just a second. So some of the characteristics of that. What time do people get there? People get to my home group, they start making the coffee about 6:45, or setting up the chairs, I should say. Me and a couple of other gals, we get there about 7:15 to 7:30. The meeting starts at 8, goes to about 9:15 p.m. And we are always the last ones to leave because we lock up. So about 10 to 10, we're out the door. I'm not saying, oh, aren't you wonderful? That's not why I'm telling you that. But I'm telling you that because, I used to like to get to the bars early and stay late. So, I want to treat this as the same kind of enthusiasm that I did drinking. This is my home group. I keep eyes on it. I'm not the boss, but I'm aware. I keep eyes on it. I want the best experience that I can be a participant of for those coming to visit us or hopefully think about considering our group. Another thing is are you listed with your local office and as well with the national or general service office? They're not connected. You'll have your local and you'll have GSO. And if your group ever does decide to roll up the sidewalk or go out of business, so to speak, be sure to let them know. Because if they don't, I've gone to many places based on the directory that were dark, that were not in existence anymore. Be sure to do that responsibly as well. But listing yourself lets the community know, hey, we're open for business. Welcome to have you. Do you know the history of your group? Again, what I found with meetings is very little history is, shared about. In our community here, we have mostly meetings. We have some fellowships and Alano clubs or Alano clubs, depending upon where you are, how you pronounce it. And we have some groups, 3 legacy groups. Most of the committee meetings here rotate every 6 months. Our group rotates every year. You really get it's a commitment. It's not a convenience. And, I can tell you the history of my group. It's 24 years old now, 24 and a half years old. We have an anniversary potluck every year to celebrate that. We have had, secretaries, what we call secretaries, who are responsible for the leadership of the meeting. And we have a lot of commitments for people available who want one, but I'll get to that in a minute. Knowing the history of your group, and what we do every year on the anniversary is we invite all the past secretaries, and they each share a few minutes. We have quite a few past secretaries. Some have died, some have left AA, some have drank, some have moved away, and some have stopped going to AA. But we still have a fair number of that group of people, and they'll share for a few minutes. And what it does, it takes you into the history of the group. And every time I hear about the starting of the group and hear what we've done and continue to grow, the roots of the group go deeper. The commitment of the group goes deeper. It's not surface. It's not shallow. It is deep. So knowing the history of your group, I think, is really a key factor. It makes you a part of it. I don't know the history of most meetings. I don't need to. I'm sure it'd be interesting to know it, but I'm not a part of that. I'm not a member of that group. So let me ask you, how many service positions or commitments or jobs, whatever you might call it in your community, how many of those does your group have? The majority of meetings in this community might have anywhere from 20 to 80 attendees, but about a half a dozen commitments. What? Yeah. That's a meeting. In my belief, a group, you want a commitment, we will make you a commitment. I know of some very, very large, several hundred member meetings, and everyone who wants a commitment has one. Even if it's you get the speaker water, that's your commitment. It doesn't have to be from beginning to end. But what happens is when we give someone a commitment, there's a sense of responsibility. There's a sense of usefulness, purposefulness. And I don't know about you, but I was pretty useless and purposeless when I got here. And I really didn't feel it's like I could be trusted with a commitment. I was terrified. Oh my God. They said, no, we just do it one meeting at a time. Now, they didn't start me off as treasurer. I mean, that'd be really foolish. They didn't start me off as the secretary. They started me off as something that was part of a team, like setup or takedown, greeter, so that it wasn't reliant on me to do that function. I learned from others about the commitment, how to be responsible. In our community here, I take secretaryship very seriously. It's a leadership position. And yet you only need 6 months and a minute to be elected secretary. Oh my gosh. Maybe you've gone through your 12 steps. Maybe you have a little bit of knowledge about the traditions. But what happens is it doesn't strengthen. This is why we need more commitments, not fewer. Groom the new ones into service. Have them do a couple, 3 commitments before they get this position of leadership. Because what happened in one book study that I went to for several years, despite the fact that we had again, it was a group. It made allowance for all of the, anybody who wanted a commitment got one. But once they did secretary, they left. They didn't, it's like they had no other need to stay there. Again, the difference between a meeting and a group. I've been a part of my group for the last 22 years when I moved here. I've been secretary once. I've been lots of, all the other jobs. Secretary is just one of them. It's not my goal. And when it comes to commitments, I know we all have autonomy as to how you assign commitments. Maybe your group votes on every single one. Maybe you sign up for different commitments, which is how our group chose to do that. And so you put your name on a list of, you can sign up for 15 things if you want, but the secretary will decide on one of them. And what I typically do for the secretary then is I wait till they're all picked, and then I'll say to the secretary, what do you still need getting done? What can I do to serve the group this year? And again, I'm not saying that, oh, aren't you so spiritual? I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm saying it because, first of all, it gets my ego out of the way of doing only the fun jobs, right? Greeter, birthday girl, that kind of stuff. It gets my ego out of the way, and I'm there to serve the group, not serve me. So this is my opportunity to maybe get to learn a new skill that I never really enhanced before. I'd never done that job before. Or in this particular case, I'm our intergroup rep. Now our intergroup meets on the same night as my home group. The good news is it's not hybrid, it's only online now. So I still get to the group early, but I go in the other room that we have available at the church. We meet in their gym, and then there's a little library next door. I go into the library, do my Zoom, participate fully in my commitment, and then when that's done, it's about halfway through 8:30 or 8:40 or so into my meeting. So I come out and I get to hear the rest of the speaker, and so forth. So, I just do what the group needs getting done. Because this also keeps me out of the prima donna role. I don't ever want to feel I'm too sober to do any commitment. I'm above cigarette butt picking up. I'm above kitchen cleanup. Hardly. If that's what the group needs getting done, let me do it. Sign me up. So again, I need that group way more than they need me. They can get someone else to do that job. But whatever I have been given to do it. Do it fully. Don't do it halfway. Do exactly what you know to do. We have job descriptions to help define, so the continuity between this person and the next one, again, verbal is not that effective. It's forgotten. It is embellished on. There's omissions. And so what we've taken to doing is with the commitment coordinator is to review with the person, not assume they're going to read it, because they don't. They fold it up, put it in their pocket. That's the last it's seen. To review the items so that at least they know at one time they had a familiarity with what the commitment entailed. Like when to be there, when not. Because I can assure you that what we do for coffee is not the same as the group that meets there on Tuesday night does for coffee, or the Wednesday night, or the Saturday morning. There are several meetings and groups that meet at the same location. We're all independent. We just happen to rent from the same venue. But we are all autonomous. And we will make our own group conscience type decisions as to, maybe, I know we close with the Lord's Prayer. Maybe they chose to close with another prayer, or just silence. So again, the autonomy of each of the meetings groups that meet at that location is of their own group conscience. So do you have a commitment at your home group? Or have you kind of taken that, we'll let the newcomer do it because we don't have that many commitments? No. I really strongly believe, why don't you and the newcomer do it? What better way to help groom someone new, answer some questions, not as a sponsor necessarily, but as simply another member of AA who has experience. Explain things, and again, maybe it can turn into something more of like sponsorship or something like that. But I know that the value of commitments, when I don't have a commitment anymore, I am not connected. I am not connected, and I need and want to be connected to a home group. Now, customs versus traditions, or traditions versus customs, as I've written it down there. Many times we'll say, well, it's a tradition that we go to this marathon meeting as a group. It's a tradition that we have greeters. It's a tradition we do birthdays every week. But if you're saying that, I'd like to encourage you to reconsider the language and call it a custom, or your group's conscience, something other than a tradition, because we only have 12 traditions. And so we don't want to make that confusion of, well, my group says it's a tradition you celebrate birthdays every week, and you don't do that. Or that you have a greeter, or that you do this or that. No, it's our group conscience, or it's our custom. Because the autonomy, as I described earlier, about the various meetings that meet at the same church we do, they all have different guides to guide them. Is your group a part of the service structure? Now, there may be people that don't know what I mean about that. So the service structure refers to the general service structure. Now, I know there's people from around the world here, and they'll have their own general service structure. But the one thing that will be the same, because I know I have been educated over the years of the Ireland service structure and the UK structure. The one thing that is the same is the upside down pyramid. And we have a beautiful, it's really a democracy where the groups are at the top of this pyramid. The question is your group in that top level or not? Or are you off to the side because that's for those people? Your general service representative, a GSR, links your group to the world at large. I never saw it so prevalent than a couple years ago. Let's see now. Was it 2021, I think, when our general service conference made the decision to change the word in our preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship, used to say of men and women, and they changed it to is a fellowship of people, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, it woke everybody up. And I can't believe they did that without asking us. I heard that similar comment many times. I had to say, well, let me just ask you something. Do you have a general service rep? Sometimes it would be yes, but most of the time, no. If it was yes, then the next question was, are they an active general service rep? Does your group allow them to make announcements, to gather the opinions of the members of that group so they can participate? This would not have been a surprise at all had you done that. You would have gotten to state your opinion, pro or con, why you like it, why you don't, if you had an active representative that you allowed a voice at the group level. You see, this is what also keeps us informed, because I can get real tiny and isolated. My favorite chair in my group on my corner of the world, and leave it at that. I got mine. Hope you get yours someday. Thank you very much. A GSR connects me to the world at large, to know what's going on. Opinions? Trust me, I have plenty. From apples to zebras, I got opinions. It's few people ask, but this is the opportunity for me to share that opinion, to get my general service rep our pros and cons, to share with our delegate who shares it at the conference level, and we have allowed them to be our trusted servants. So that was a huge, huge, interesting awareness when all these people were so upset about that. And, but most of them never had an active GSR or let them say anything at the group level. So, hey, kind of seems like we brought it on ourselves. If we're, it's just like anything else. You don't participate. To me, I forfeit the right to complain. I want to be a part of this whole thing, not just an attender of AA. I want to be a member. And membership is a participation and being active in the middle of this, not just observing. Have you recently checked out your literature rack? I tell you what, I was getting so embarrassed about our literature rack. We had plenty of literature. It was all appropriate, but it was so beat up. It wasn't attractive. Because one of the things that I like to do is bring new people over to the literature rack and show them these beautiful pieces of literature. We have pamphlets or service pieces, just not to overwhelm them, but to show this is available for you. Show them our books that are available for our cost. Whatever the books buy them for, that's what they sell them for. There's no markup or anything on that. So when's the last time you visited your group's literature rack? How's it looking? Is it appropriate literature? Or is there a bunch of outdated stuff? Is it all beat up and dog-eared? And so we finally got a nice carrying case for our literature rack. I'm so glad, because now it does have a lot more attraction to it. So since the purpose of a group is for new people to have a place to gather, to find hope, to hear the message of recovery, how is that person received? First of all, are there greeters? Are you watching the door for the unfamiliar face? They may not be brand new. They might be 100 years sober, but visiting the area, checking out a new group, as I mentioned before. Or they may have had their last drink in the parking lot. Are you watching that door for that new person? New, or what I should say, the unfamiliar face. This is part of our responsibility. And so when they arrive, what do? Hi, good to see you. How are you? Walk off. That's kind of ineffective, I think. Hey, my name is Debbie. I don't think I've seen you here before. Have you been here before? I have kind of a list of questions, not to interrogate the poor person, but just some variety of questions. You've been here before. Oh, great. Welcome back. Are you new to the area? Are you visiting the area? Where else do you go to meetings? So how long have you been sober? And, just kind of get this general feel about it. And I can tell them my stuff too. I'm from Concord. Where do you live in the area? And just general stuff. If they're new, would you like, there's the coffee and treats. Would you like, to see what we have literature? Would you like to meet some people? Just some general, easy does it kind of questions. But I don't want to just leave them by their side. At our group, if you're sitting down, be careful, because we're going to be all over you like white on rice. I mean, we're just like, whoosh, you're sitting down. You must not know someone. You must be new, visit something. Because our members are walking around. They're talking to each other, keeping their eye on that front door. And again, I don't limit it to women. I want to extend the hand of kindness to the men as well, especially those new people. And then I say, would you like to meet some of the guys? I take him over to our secretary, a sponsorship person, or to some of the other people of the guys there, and turn it over to them. That's the beautiful position of that. So we want that place to be somewhere they'd like to come back to. What made you come back to your second meeting? Are you that obviously worked for you, right? Are you passing that on to someone else, to the next person that you meet that's new? I guess it'd be maybe 15 years ago, I had an event, and this was a participation question. What brought you to your second meeting, and are you passing that on? And we probably heard shares from about 75, 80 people. They had just, 2 minutes and 90 seconds. And what I noticed was said different ways, but the same thing. Someone's kindness brought them back to their second meeting. Please come back. Here's my number, but more importantly, get their number. Don't, if you expect them to call you, you'll still be waiting. Did you call people? I don't know many who did. You called them, reach out that hand of friendship, kindness, welcome. Here, I met you last night at the XYZ meeting, and I don't know if you've got plans for the next meeting, but here's the meetings I'm going to. You don't have to have a 30-minute, 3-hour conversation. Just a kind word, an invitation to go to a meeting where they'll see another friendly face, and that's yours. Offer to pick them up, take them to coffee. We know all those things to do. Extend that hand of kindness to that new person. So let's see. Now, whoops, I think I missed one here. Yeah. So again, talking about someone over there, I hope that you do, and show them this great literature. My sponsorship group and I have been going through the pamphlets last year and this coming year. Fascinating piece. So much great literature that is underutilized. So I hope that maybe that'll be something that'll perk your interest in checking out some of these different titles, maybe that we have that are very, very powerful. Most of it here may not need it, but I wanted to educate myself on things that I may be able to direct someone new to that would be helpful. On tradition 1, do I treat the common welfare as a paramount position? This is of my group. Or does my disruptive behavior say that I'm more important than anyone around me? What are my meeting manners? Am I treating the group as the priority, or do I think I'm the priority? I am much better with a good, healthy, service-oriented group. I will fall in line to that. But I want to have rub off by osmosis or be a monkey see, monkey do kind of member. I don't want somebody to be out servicing me. I want to be right amongst that group of people in service. Not, but right in that running game, right in that same line. What are my meeting manners? Do I come in late? Do I leave early? Do I talk throughout the meeting? Am I digging around on my phone? Got to get up and get coffee. Oh, now I got to go to the bathroom, do that too. I mean, all those kinds of things are so disruptive. I never knew that. I didn't realize how much attention seeking I was going for, but I was so ignorant. And the long timers gave me just a reminder that every time you do that, you take away you distract someone that takes them away from hearing the message. And all of a sudden I realized I don't want that responsibility. So I got to learn to become one among many, and that the group became far more important than me. Get your personal business done early. Wait after. we all know the common sense. If you're not feeling well or something, obviously, but the point is maybe you should have stayed home. So in two, am I a trusted servant? Does your group have group conscience meetings? Is it really a group conscience? Or is it focused on, well, we're talking about this, but you, the founder of the group or the longest sober person, what do you think? Sometimes you can fall into that and you don't mean to or don't want to. So it's important that you say, well, let's continue discussing, or I agree with so much that's been around, but if we're not ready to make a decision, I think the more that, because I'm typically the longest sober person in the room. And while, yes, I have a lot of experience and 4 groups worth of experience because I've lived in 4 different parts of the country, I don't want to be the person, and I don't set myself up to be the person with the quote final authority, because I do not. It's important to me to have group conscience meetings on a decision that's been brought up, because I know that I can go into something with a definite opinion of we should do this. But once we hear everybody's group conscience, oh, I never thought of it like that. I didn't consider that. But because everybody's given the same safe area to share their opinion or experience, I can change my mind. There's a beautiful thing often heard in the service world that you can have opinion, but be prepared to change it. Or it's fine to have an opinion, but I want you to try to change my mind. Not that I double dog dare you to change my mind. No, that's not the attitude. But to be open, because it has been changed when I hear other people sharing on it. My tradition 3, group membership, AA membership, individual membership. Now, that's all we need to be a member of AA, is to say, I'm a member. We don't take DNA tests to see if you really are an alcoholic. We don't quiz you on how long or how much you've drank, because it's not a matter of how long and how much. That's irrelevant. Do you have alcoholism? We can help you with that. But that alone, just saying I'm a member of AA, will not keep me sober. That will not alone keep me sober. My actions here, and which helps develop that relationship with a power greater than myself, is what will keep me sober. But it's something I can belong to, because as we often say, if you've been where we've been or done what we've done, you have paid your membership dues. Now, sometimes we have specialty groups, men, women, gay, doctor, whatever. Is it a closed meeting? And oftentimes that will be. The question is, what do you do when someone shows up other than the specialty of your meeting or group? I'm not here to tell you. But what I do want to say is have a plan. Have a plan. Don't knee jerk. Oh my God, there's a man here at the women's meeting. What do we do? Have a group conscience to decide the proper thing to do. And basically, every group I've seen, because it is a specialty group, let me share with you what the pamphlet says. Some AA groups come together as specialized AA groups for men, women, young people, doctors, gays, and others. If the members are all alcoholics, and if they open the door to all alcoholics who seek help, regardless of profession, gender, or other distinction, and meet all the other aspects defining AA group, they may call themselves an AA group. So if by accident I show up at a men's meeting, I'm not new, so I can often, I didn't realize I was at a men's meeting. I can go ahead and find another meeting, but that newer person may not have the wherewithal to do that. How will you handle that? You make the decision. Remember, your primary purpose
is to carry the message. I can guarantee you the man that accidentally shows up at the women's meeting is going to be far more uncomfortable than most of the women. But they may need a meeting way more than I do. They may need that safe solace way more than I do that night. It's not like they're going to keep coming back to the women's meeting as if they don't know. So keep that in mind. Have a plan. On tradition 4, each group is unique and they're autonomous. Do I respect the other groups that are different from me? They may chant all the way through. They may chant through chapter 5, say the 1, 2, 3s, A, B, C's. They may join in on the end of everything. My group is not like that. We don't do that. But that's not for me to put down, criticize, or say what a crappy group that is. I really need to treat that as I have no opinion on that. Respecting the other group's autonomy. Our group encourages our speakers to dress up in a coat and tie or a skirt or dress. Now, we don't banish them if they don't, but most of the people that come to speak respect our custom. No, it's not required in AA, but it's our custom. I'm in a skirt. I'm camera ready. I've come to you camera ready, as I say, and I'm in a top and jewelry and I'm in a skirt. I'm coming to the Zoom world as if I were talking in person. And that's my way. I'm comfortable doing that. I would not feel right being in pajama bottoms right now or my work pants. That's me. I'm the speaker today. You didn't ask me to do that. I choose to do that because that's how I want to present myself and AA, is to step it up. That's me. That's my autonomy. I'm not putting that on you or anybody else. But to respect the group, their customs, their traditions, let's just say their customs and the way they do things, that is my responsibility. Now, in tradition 5, each Alcoholics Anonymous group should be a spiritual entity. Do you feel that your group is? Do you feel your group, sorry about this. Do you feel your group is a spiritual entity when you walk in there? Do you feel a spirit? Or does it feel kind of flat? And that it has one primary purpose. Not to find a new boyfriend, new girlfriend, new place to live, get a loan, get a job. The primary purpose is to carry, it says, its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. For a long time, and I do believe it's carry my message one-on-one, carry the message of the 12 steps and about AA, but it says carry its message. So it made me start to think, well, what is my group's message? When someone comes here, what's their take? It's a very good vibe. It's upbeat. It's exciting. There's energy in that room. There's laughing going on. It's going on. I've walked into meetings where it was like the wax museum. It was dull, dreary. I thought, oh my God, this is exactly what I thought AA was going to be like when I was new sober. Of course, I wasn't moved into that way, but oh my God. And so what is your group's message? Is it one that shows respect to the people speaking, or is it like a bus stop? Do you have people watching like you, watching the door, greeting people? Do you have literature? Do you have maybe you're back serving coffee again? Do you have a place that feels safe to walk into? Or do you have to walk through all the smokers? Is there this barrage of people you don't even want to approach the front door? So ask yourself a few of those things. What's the message your group is carrying? Being careful in tradition 6, being careful of our relations with the outside so it doesn't look like endorsement. We meet in a church, we pay rent, And we have to be very careful that we don't get involved with the church's activities. One time they offered to pour coffee for us because that was the way that they were going to serve their community. And we said, well, thank you so much, but this is something that we would do on our own. We need to be self-supporting through commitments as well as finances. They have brought to our attention the need of a new roof, a new parking lot. They're doing leaf raking day. Okay, good to know. And that's about as far as it goes. Our group does not get involved with the church's additional functions. If I, as a citizen of the world, want to go rake leaves that day, that's my personal business. It would not be something I would be announcing to the group as the church's liaison that that's going on. Okay. 7, about self-support and being financially self-supporting to my group. Do most of us are employed? Are we still throwing a buck in the basket and holding a designer drink, Starbucks or Pete's or whatever your local designer drink is? Am I holding a $5 cup of coffee, throwing a buck in the basket, thinking that's sufficient? Let me tell you something, that hasn't been sufficient in 45 years. It still runs at a deficit that we have to borrow from our literature sales in order to make our ends meet for our group expenses. So our excess money goes to help support our general service office in New York, our local office, our general service area, and our general service district. We have a different container separate aside for all of the, like our H&I information. And so that is separate altogether, but it's important that we self-support. We're not here to make a bunch of money on anything. We're here to support those services that do not go outside for help. So am I self-supporting, which includes participating in my group's activities, having a commitment, supporting the local community is very important to me. In tradition 8, have you visited? I don't know, many of you may not have a local central office, but if you do, have you visited it recently? Have you seen what they do there? Or have you been to our general service office, or maybe your local or your country's general service office? Do you know what they do there? This is part of, again, connecting me to the worldwide fellowship instead of, that's for those people. I am one of those people. I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am an alcoholic. How about leadership? Rotating leadership is, while they call it leadership, basically all of our active service jobs, positions, whatever you call them, rotate. And the reason they need to is I would be the greeter every year. It's a fun job. Or I'd be the birthday girl all the time. Or I would do the grapevine all the time. That would deny someone else that wonderful opportunity, and it would deny me another different position to serve our group. So even though it says leadership, and the point is, do I help groom others to take on these jobs? Maybe in general service or intergroup. Do I help groom new members into service and help gently guide them along so they can do the best job they can? Again, this is why we have written job descriptions. So again, I mentioned the coffee. The coffee in our group is going to be different than the coffee done in the group on Tuesday night. So it's important that for our continuity, we help keep that consistent. In tradition 10, they made it really clear in the long form what the 3 outside issues are: politics, alcohol reform, and organized or sectarian religion. When we bring the opinions of those into the rooms, we will alienate members. We will alienate others. Whether I wear a t-shirt or a button or a hat, even a sports team. We can certainly have our rivals and our favorites. But is it really wise that we are doing that kind of, I'm trying to find my timer here. Let's see. I think I have about 5 minutes left. Are we really, is that necessary that you know who I voted for, who my favorite team is, or what my favorite ex is? Not meaning ex-husband, but I mean what my favorite XYZ is. No, you really don't care. And you might be in favor of the opposite. And so I don't want to block me from you strutting my opinion in that regard. So let's be mindful of that. In Tradition 11, there's a checklist question that says, is my AA sobriety attractive enough that a sick drunk would want such a quality for himself? When you go to your group, what do? When do you get there? Do you get there 5 minutes beforehand? Kind of hard for most people to say hello to by that time. Do you only talk to your friends? I mean, what kind of a member would you call yourself? Or would you maybe say an attender? Or maybe a visitor? I have been a visitor. I have been an attender. Members best. Members engaged. Member is full on, not half measures. That's my definition. And so, are you getting sponsees out of your group? Are you getting people coming up and asking you questions? I mean, what are you doing at your group level as a member of that group? In Tradition 12, principles before personalities. What a great phrase. I think, God, that was brilliant. They had that in the long form of the traditions when it was presented in April of 1946 in the Grapevine. But principles before personalities, my definition is it puts it on the same playing field. They're both equally important. But if I lay down a principle, the personality will figure out how to work with that. If I have a personality and I'm trying to form the principle around that personality, I have no principles. There's no continuity. There's no unification. So principles before personalities. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is this phrase. So I'm going to tell you the time frame that this was written in after I read it, because this just seems to be appropriate at any time. It says, with the vast number of groups, has there been a change in the quality of AA? Think about, like, for example, when you first came in, is the quality still the same as when you came in to where you're going on? Does the person walking through the doors today feel the same warmth, humanness, and sense of being needed that Bill shared with Dr. Bob? Do groups feel threatened and overpowered by the numbers of newcomers? Is there the same excitement, the compelling desire to share sobriety felt by early AAs? Do groups receive all newcomers the same way, or do we look down on those coming to us from court programs and rehab centers? Are people today attending meetings without joining groups? Are they spectators, not participants? In this era of growing alcoholism awareness, are all groups adhering to our single purpose, never allowing it to be influenced by other programs? The shortcomings of a group will always be the defects of us, its members. If the hand of AA is to reach out through groups to all future generations, we need to find the courage to take fearless and continuing group inventories. The AA groups is where it first began. The AA group is where it begins for that person approaching our doors this very day. And the AA group is where it will always begin as long as God has use for our fellowship. That was the presentation made by a General Service Trustee, Margaret C., in 1977 at the General Service Conference? I think these are excellent questions to still ask ourselves today. In closing, I leave you with this last question. The next time you attend your home group meeting, pretend you are new or have never been there before. What do you see, feel, and hear in the rooms? I hope it's the sight, feel, and sound of love and recovery in action. Thank you very much for allowing me to present on the home group.